To begin this podcast, I want to first quickly summarize part 1 of Henry IV. The setting of the play begins in England and briefly in Wales. In part 1, we see that King Henry IV became king because he stole the crown from King Richard. Some of the main characters, such as Hotspur, Mortimer, Falstaff, King Henry, and Prince Hal, were introduced. Act 1 ends with a cliffhanger when Hotspur took Mortimer as prisoner. King Henry, Hotspur, and Northumberland are all in a debate at the end, and this is something that surely will be fought out in the next part of the story. Now we will go over some of the important characters from part 1.
Harry Percy, also known as Hotspur, is the hot-headed punk leader of the rebels. Hotspur is seen by Henry IV on the battlefield and receives high praise as he brings back thousands of men and some knights. However, as many strengths as he also has some shortcomings, his temper being one of them. Northumberland, his father, is constantly scolding him for this. He comments on how every little thing gets Hotspur too angry. This might be a flaw that we should continue to track as we continue reading. Henry IV would also rather Hotspur as a son, as opposed to Prince Hal. This provides opposing viewpoints, as it seems Northumberland would rather not have Hotspur as his son, while Henry IV would prefer him. Another important conflict to keep our minds on as we read. I think Hotspur's testosterone-filled personality will lead to his demise.
So Falstaff is a fat old knight who is one of Prince Hal's main partners in Henry IV. Prince Hal is the rightful heir to the British throne. However, his actions and behavior don't really make him a suitable king. Prince Hal speaks many times of him and Falstaff hanging around bars, getting drunk often, and taking part in a life of debauchery. Falstaff and Hal have kind of a love-hate relationship. Hal often talks down on Falstaff, calling him things like, quote, a stuffed cloak bag of guts and fat-witted. Hal also speaks of one day banishing Falstaff from his life. This is definitely something we should look for as the story progresses, which is the relationship between Falstaff and Prince Hal. Hal-and-Poins also attacked Falstaff by robbing him of his loot that he was supposed to get. Hal-and-Poins already knew that Falstaff will tell him many lies about how he was attacked and just make up things that are not true. So why do Hal-and-Poins basically gang up on Falstaff? So this is another thing that we should look out for, and also the progression of Falstaff and Hal's relationship.
Now, moving towards possibly the most clear relationship we have seen thus far in the story is that between King Henry and his son, Prince Hal. They are not the ideal father-son relationship, as the king even goes so far as to tell Prince Hal that he wishes that Hotspur was his actual son. Prince Hal is seen as a total screw-up by his father, mainly because he is constantly hanging out with a bunch of drunks and hanging in taverns. In Act 1, we saw that Prince Hal says he is planning on this whole transition from screw-up to a good leader, but we only saw a glimpse of hope, really. He has yet to actually be true to this claim, and this is one of the main reasons that King Henry disapproves of his son's behavior. Prince Hal will one day become king, and is likely going to try to impress his father and gain respect in the next parts of the story. At the end of part 1, civil war seems inevitable as there is just so much conflict among characters. Prince Hal is leaning towards beginning his transition into a good leader. One of the main reasons why King Henry likes Hotspur so much is because of his successes on the battlefield. So we predict that Prince Hal will have some major victory or major battle moments coming up. Another prediction that we have is that we will see Mortimer play a more vital role as the story goes on. He was introduced and seems to be an important character, but we predict that he will have a much more important part in the next acts. The passage that we took out from the story was between Hotspur and Worcester. Hotspur begins by saying,
Nay, I will. That's flat. He said he would not ransom Mortimer, forbade my tongue to speak of Mortimer. But I will find him when he lies asleep, and in his ear I'll hollow Mortimer. Nay, I'll have a starling shall be taught to speak nothing but Mortimer, and give it to him to keep his anger still in motion. Hear you, cousin, a word. All studies here I solemnly defy, save how to gall and pinch this Bolingbroke, and that same sword and buckler Prince of Wales, but that I think his father loves him not, and would be glad he met with some mischance. I would have poisoned him with a pot of ale.
Conflict over Mortimer as a prisoner is very important, as he was the heir to the throne until King Henry IV called him a traitor. Hotspur and the Percy family are not happy with how the whole situation panned out. Through a combination of both Hotspur's temper and Henry's disliking of Mortimer, a rebellion seems certain.